Eye on Gauteng, brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Economic Development.
Welcome back. You're watching Eye on Gauteng. Still with us is Stephen Watson, Victor Khomoyeswana, and Zolani Matebese. Right, Zolani, before the break, we were talking about the whole IT and broadband discussion, the technicalities of it. But now, in layman's terms, the broader the band, the higher the economic opportunities for a city, for a region. Could you quantify and at least explain that to us?
Thanks, Lionel. I think there have been a number of studies done which show that there is definitely a linkage between broadband penetration and access and usage and economic growth. And in a geographic region like Gauteng, where we are desperately searching for economic growth, that can only be a good thing. A good example that I use when I talk to people about our broadband initiative is your bigger operators like your Vodacoms and your MTNs. When they implemented their networks, they probably didn't think of a small company called Mixit, who would come and see that there is an entrepreneurial idea here. There's an opportunity and there's a market, and let me exploit that. And what does that lead to? That leads to economic growth. Just that one little company that saw a gap in the market and that exploited it. And the more of that you have, the more platforms that you have for people to build on, the better the economic growth. And we can show that there is a causal linkage between broadband and economic growth. And definitely within the Gauteng province, it should be so.
Right, Stephen, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, I think we're touching on a very, very important point, which is the intangible peripheral benefits to an increase in connectivity through the likes of broadband. And if we look at growth, a huge component of our growth can come from SMMEs. And we're living in a world now where the downloading of apps is the new buzz in the ICT sector. In fact, the application downloads have overtaken music downloads. And so why should it be that apps are something that are developed in first world markets? If you look at Apple's structure in terms of apps, you can apply to be a programmer, but all of the tutorials and all of the guidance is online. And to be able to access that efficiently without high levels of frustration, you've got to have high-speed broadband. If we can, we use the old adage, don't give a man a fish, teach him to be a fisherman. Why can't we have our SMEs, people who are inspired by the sector and the growth of the sector, particularly as it goes into the likes of the social networks and the marketing benefits from that, to be able to structure and write apps and to start to get on this global wave. What becomes frustrating for those young entrepreneurs who want to get into the space is cost and time and inefficiency of connectivity. We can address those, not just within the urban hubs, but in the rural areas, and we can create more and more access for SMMEs and entrepreneurs. Then we can grow our economy. Growth and employment absorption, those are the keys for us. We used to live in a space where we just used to focus on growth, and it's not enough. We've got to absorb, we've got to create jobs. The best way to do that is to create businesses that create jobs.
Fantastic. I love the sound of that. Victor, from the whole discussion around digital highways, let's talk about physical highways. Now, they say that Gauteng is the gateway to at least the southern African hinterland. Right. And that population is at least the size of the United States of America, more or less. Yep. The access, how important is that, and are we there as a province?
No, we're not. Well, as a province, I'm sure our roads can match any first world country.
But I'm saying access to those regions in the southern...
No, not
Southern
in
Africa.
the southern region, in the other provinces in South Africa.
Wow.
I mean, I drove from Limpopo on Sunday, and if you pass Bronkhorstspruit, you drive for about 30 kilometers towards Groblersdal, and then you are on a road that you can't believe. You just come off a very good world-class road. So you can't have that, where one province has the roads that look like they are going places, and the adjoining provinces are enormous. So you move from one province. The idea of a road is to connect, isn't it? So you can connect Johannesburg and Pretoria, Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni, but you need to also be able to connect Johannesburg and Durban. Yes, that's done. So the interconnectivity, I mean, you try and drive in Lesotho for argument's sake. The roads are not what you're used to. And some of the countries that are members of SADC, like Tanzania, have roads where the cars are bigger than the road sometimes. You really struggle to navigate there. So,
but what should the Gauteng government do? I mean, obviously they can't do anything about another country, another province, but in terms of being that real gateway.
Yeah, no, certainly. I don't think Gauteng as a government can solve those problems, but that's where the spatial collaboration is important. think of yourself as a regional gateway, so that invest in the relationships as well with the neighboring countries. Because if you want to be the gateway to Africa, then you must make somebody who's landing in Johannesburg, flying on to Harare, to feel like they are really welcome. It mustn't be, well, I've landed in Johannesburg, but I'm flying on to Harare. That's a nightmare. So you have to invest as much in your energies and resources in making sure that the alignment is there. It's not just one thing you can achieve by yourself, but I'm saying it's part of the collaboration. And I think everywhere in the world, economies do better when they are aligned with the region. People don't visit Johannesburg. They visit the region called South Africa, and that country will be related to Zimbabwe, and that's why the nature reserves are now trans-frontier. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the Kruger Park on the South Africa side or on the Zimbabwe side, you're looking for game. And if you're looking for game, it doesn't matter if you find that. So regional alignment, I think, is the story. So if you are leading a government like Gauteng, your energies should be split, well, proportionate to your priorities as a provincial government, to aligning yourself with the rest of the region, because that's where you're going to really become relevant and stay in tune with what is happening and really be the gateway.
Oh, fantastic. Zolani, would you like to come in on this discussion? I know obviously, you know, your domain is mostly IT and broadband, but as a citizen of Johannesburg, which is got a proud tradition as being one of Africa's most progressive cities, what is your opinion with regards connectivity, even physical connectivity on the road and stuff?
I think physical connectivity is definitely important. You know, when you have an investor that comes in, you have an impression that is generated. And when you're talking about becoming a gateway city, you're talking about being a conduit for investment to other areas of South Africa, other areas of the SADC region, and of course into Africa itself. And I think that we all know that in general our road network is good. But we do have to face the fact that it is a declining asset that we've got, and that something needs to be done about that. In terms of what needs to be done, there are definitely some implementations that are underway. There are some debates that are underway as to what the best way should be to finance those initiatives. But you know, that's something that we need to all resolve as spheres of government, and I'm talking as a government official here. And we have to then take that through to the citizen. You know, for certain initiatives, you can use things like project finance. For other initiatives, it's got to be government that actually forks out the money. That's where your tax money goes to, and it should be spent in terms of maintaining these assets that we have. But again, that's a discussion.
I want to bring Stephen in. While we're talking about infrastructure, we spoke about the digital, now we're talking about physical. In Gauteng, it's going to be very expensive to crisscross Gauteng with all our e-tolling going on. That's going to happen. Is that going to help business spread, or is it going to be cumbersome for business?
Look, I mean, our focus as Blue IQ hasn't been on
I know, but
the issues of tolling. But
your opinion regarding the ease of doing business and the cost of doing business.
I'm glad you're touching on the word cost of doing business. Our priority now is, I think Victor was touching a lot on the tourism angle of our road infrastructure. What we've got to focus on, we believe, and have done significant studies in this now, is we've got to look at getting freight off the roads and back onto the rail. That's where Gauteng's competitive advantage is going to come from. So we need to create a freight ring road around the province with freight hubs that increase our capacity to move freight in a means that doesn't create congestion, isn't environmentally friendly, and then gives us an ability to be more competitive as we position ourselves as the gateway for Africa. And all of the research that we've done, and we've now started the freight implementation strategy. We're motivating for 4 new hubs around the broader parts, so West Rand, Tambo Springs, Ortier in terms of air freight, and Roseland, of course, which is our Auto City cluster. We've got to move this freight off the roads, and there's multiple benefits for that. That will bring the cost of doing business down. It'll also give us access. If we're going up to Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, down to our own ports. If you just take the fact that right now Gauteng's home to 4 major automotive manufacturers. As an inland destination, it doesn't normally happen. They always gravitate towards the nearest port. But we're home to BMW, Nissan, Ford, Renault. Toyota's just set up a massive distribution. So our benefit is to say, let's get that bulk weight off our road. Benefits on wear and tear,
I'm sure
etc.
the motorists are going to be very relieved if you get that right, because it's going to ease traffic congestion and it'll make life all the more pleasant for Gauteng residents. Gentlemen, we're actually running out of time. I just want closing statements from yourself, Victor, as well as Zolani, and we'll call it a wrap.
I like what the two gentlemen are saying, because it sounds like they're focused on the right things. Getting broadband right, making it cheaper and cheaper every day so that we get the traffic going, but also getting the roads efficient so people can use public transport. The roads are less congested because we're spending far too much time. I'm not talking about petrol, far too much time, skilled personnel on the roads. That's being unproductive.
Do you still buy the story about Gauteng being the gateway for the rest of the continent? Yes,
to the region I buy it. To the rest of the continent I don't.
You don't. Right. Zolani?
Thanks,
Closing
Lionel.
statement?
I think, in closing, I'll say that I'm happy that Blue IQ is actually doing the physical work of getting freight off our roads. We as City of Joburg will continue to do the digital work of getting all our citizens connected via our broadband network. And we hope that we'll be on this program again soon, reporting on the success of the project.